We're going to talk about the marten now for a few minutes. One of the interesting things about the marten is that he spends most of his life in the trees. The conifer trees, the more mature conifer bush, the better. He's a member of the weasel family, and he spends all his time chasing squirrels and things like that. He can actually travel several miles without even going on the ground, just traveling through the trees. So he's an interesting little guy. As I said, a member of the weasel family. I could probably spend quite a bit of time telling you some of the interesting things about the biological features of the marten. But one thing I would like to mention in this particular species is that they have the ability, the females have the ability, or it's a phenomenon to me, to have what we call delayed implantation. And that means that the female can become pregnant and then the embryo can begin to develop and then actually stop and lay dormant for months at a time. So in other words, if the animal gets pregnant and gets into less than ideal situations, perhaps not enough to eat or a stressful situation where it's traveling, trying to find new territory, that young embryo can lay dormant inside that animal for that length of time. And at which time the fat content comes back, or the feed that she needs, and the stress level is down, it will continue on until she gives birth to the young. So that's a quick overview of one of the interesting features of the animal. When we do go into an area to harvest the marten, of course, as I mentioned, one of its favorite food is the squirrel, the red squirrel in this area. So we would probably use a red squirrel as bait if we had such, because they are a carnivore. They're a nocturnal animal that moves around primarily at night, but they are sometimes seen during the day. In trapping an animal like that, we want to do as good a job as we can, as quickly as we can. So I'm going to explain as I go, but I'd like to introduce this particular type of a trap. This is the conibear series of trap. This is the size of trap that we would use for an animal of this size, the marten. And that's the importance of the mandatory trapper education, is that each person learns how to properly determine how to trap the animal with the best tools available in the most humane way possible. So this trap is designed to be a quick killing device. And I'll show you, I'm going to set the trap and show you how it works. I've got two of them here and I want to show you the differences between them. This trap is meant to kill the animal quickly, as I mentioned. It's called a body gripping trap, or a quick kill trap. The springs on the side where my hands are here are what power the trap, and the animal passes through the center of the trap. And I'll explain as I go. I'm going to load this trap. These little hooks that are hanging here are there for me so that when I try to close the springs, do this so that you can see, hopefully, they'll hold the spring in the closed position for me so that I can work with the trap. That's the purpose of those hooks. Now we've got both of them. Now I can open the trap up, but just before I do that, I'll get out my other little tool here that we use. It's called a safety gripper, and because this trap is designed to kill the animal, it has quite a bit of force. If it ever fires on my fingers, it's very painful. So we need to be careful, and we use what's called a safety gripper. It's got a hook, a spring, and the one hook contracts with the spring, and I'll show you how it works as we load the trap. Now I've pressed the trap so that the springs are in their closed, fully closed position and ready to fire. I can't get my hand out of the way quick enough. If I try to let go of this, it's going to catch my fingers. So I'm just going to slip these safety grippers on there, just in case the trap happened to get away on me and slip. The safety grippers are going to hold the trap. This is our trigger system here. These two little whiskers that are hanging down here, and this piece on the top is called the dog. And we just hook the dog on top of the whiskers, or the trigger, and that's how the trap works. Okay, and so the purpose of this now is that this would be, I'll show you what we do with it in a few minutes, but the idea is the animal will pass through the trap to get back to the bait that's in behind it, triggering the trap, and the trap will catch the animal directly behind the head so that it doesn't suffer, and it will kill it as quickly as possible. So now that I've showed you this, I want to show you about the same size trap, but one that has been modified to meet the standards, that has been tested and has met those standards. So I'll take these safety grippers off, and I'll hang this strap here for a minute. Now this is the same, pretty much the same thing I just showed you, except with a couple of different features on it. And the first thing you'd probably notice is this big, what we call a pitchfork trigger. Now this is designed so that the animal can't get around the trigger in any way, so that he gets too far into the trap and doesn't get as good a strike on the animal so that it dies quickly. The springs are much more beefy, in other words more powerful. The trap itself has an extra killing bar or clamping bar on here, which gives it much more power. So this trap has been tested and has met the industry standards for killing an animal as quickly as possible. So I'm going to load this trap now so that you can see how it works. Same way I did the other one. We'll put our safety grippers on. And there's our trap, ready to go. Okay, so now I want to show you what I would put this in. I've made a little device here. So I'll hang this trap up for a minute as well, and I'll show you the next feature. This is called a Marten box. It's one that I built, and it's not my invention. It's just an invention of trappers over the years trying to come up with a more humane system. It's just some wood nailed together. We've got some slots in the side. That's for the trap to slide in, the springs of the trap to stick out. It's about 15 inches long. In the back of the trap, there's just some mesh here, some wire, so that nothing can get in from the back. The only way it can get in is from the front. So that's what we call a controlled approach. So that we are controlling which way the animal comes in, and we know then that we're going to get him coming into the trap so that we're going to catch him humanely. And that's what the idea of this is. These wires that are sticking out on the side are there for me so that I can wire it to the pole. I'll show you that as we go along. So I'm going to place this trap now inside our box so you can see exactly how this system works. I'll take my safeties off here. Oops, I'll turn the trap around because I want the forks that are sticking up, I want them in front normally. Okay, I've got a couple of little sticks I'll reach down and get here. Just a couple of twigs that I've whittled down. And I've drilled holes in the box so that the trap I can lower these twigs down into the box. And those are there so that they'll hold that trap firmly in place. It's not going to move around. Even if I turn it upside down, it's not going to move. So that's the idea. Now we've got a controlled approach, as I've mentioned. The animal, we put the bait in the back, and the animal's going to come through the front, and the only way he can get to that bait is to travel through the front of the trap. So I'm going to use this little rolled up piece of paper here as our animal, so just so you can see exactly how this works. So the animal has picked up the smell. He's come in, entered the box. I hope you can see it good there. As he tries to pass through the trap is going to instantly catch him directly across the back of his head in a vital area, so that it'll kill him almost instantly. Now that's the target, that's the idea of what we're trying to do with this. So it looks a little bit gruesome, a bit scary, I guess, but remember, the idea is humaneness, is to kill the animal quickly so that it doesn't have to suffer. And so that's the idea of this. So all we would do in this case is we would take this box, would reset our trap, and we would wire the whole mechanism onto a pole like this. And that's the whole idea of it. We just took an axe and put a flat spot on this pole, and we wire it on so it's not going to move. We could camouflage it a little bit with some of the boughs nearby. We take this wire and wire it onto our pole as well, just in case when the animal sprung the trap that it slipped out and the animal would be hanging here. So that's the principle of this. I consider this a humane system. I like the box trap system, and I hope you can understand how far we've come with traps since the old days and the old foot holding devices.